You often say that friction in leadership is not necessarily a mistake, but inherent in that role. Maybe that's kind of what we're talking about too, that friction of wanting to be servant, but also having to be, make those tough decisions. Do you want to expand on that a little bit more about leaning into the friction in leadership?
Yeah, well, I think especially in today's age, right, with AI, where everything should just be as easy and as efficient as possible. And we sometimes miss the role that things that slow us down have. And I'll give an example that's completely, outside of leadership even. There's three ways that I can capture ideas, right? I use Whisper, so I can just talk and it transcribes it. It's amazing and wonderful. I can type and I can handwrite. When I'm with clients, I handwrite. That is the highest friction activity. I can capture the least amount of information, but that friction means I remember more. It keeps me more connected to the conversation. It allows me to pick out what matters the most. I could have AI transcribe it, but that would not give me the same benefit within the conversation of being able to remember something they said 20 minutes ago, because jotting it down allowed me to connect with it in a way that even typing wouldn't have. And so the lowest friction way, right, Whisper and using that is great when I'm doing something that's fast or quick, or I just need to capture a note or a thought. But even when I'm writing, at a certain point, I have to go from what I captured with Whisper to hand typing so I can get to how I really want it to be phrased. And so friction is something that it does create value for us. And it's helpful to think about where friction is useful versus where friction is maybe just painful, right? If there's something, if there's a form that you have to fill out in triplicate just to get reimbursed for a charge that happens every month, okay, that may not be useful friction to that process. But there are times where the friction of how you conduct one-on-ones and having an agenda that you go through, where yes, that is a little bit more work and it does slow things down in a way, creates a structure that then becomes valuable.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. It's great. It's a great take on friction because I don't really hear people talking about it like that. They always just want to remove it. So I appreciate how you're kind of like evaluating it. Uh, why do you think you know so many leaders maybe they may feel like they're struggling and that there's something wrong with them? Maybe it's not necessarily wrong with them. Why do they think if they're struggling it's them? I guess succinctly. I mean, maybe it is them, but maybe it's not them.
Sometimes, there's always things we can try to do differently, and there's always ways that we can see the circumstances we're in through a different perspective. That doesn't necessarily remove every struggle, right? I especially middle management roles are roles that are inherently filled with these contradictions and stress points, right? You are responsible for a team that would like to work on the things that they want to work on. They want to get raises and promotions and bonuses. They want to be paid well. They want to enjoy their work, and they want flexibility and freedom. And an organization that wants as most efficiency and as much value out of the team as possible. Those things will not always fit together perfectly. And when you're in a management role, your job is to deal with two things that sometimes are going to be in contradiction. It's going to not be possible to appease both sides. And I think oftentimes when we talk about leadership or a lot of the leadership books, it assumes that if you could just behave in this one way, everything would work. Everything would be complete and whole and wonderful. And so it's because you haven't attained this way of being that there's this gap, there's this problem, rather than seeing the gap as the reality of middle management. You are in a role that is dealing with contradictions constantly, right? There is a way to just sit in it perfectly and have it always work. And I think that's part of it, right? We a lot of it is the way we talk about it. A lot of it is the way that people have been brought up to think about it. And we don't often sit back and recognize that, no, there's structurally, my job is to deal with this. and there is no right answer that's gonna be right 100% of the time.